My name is Astrid Kahmke. I'm working for the Bavarian Film Center, and I'm into storytelling for pretty much the last 30 years. And I have a quite cheeky title to tell you about the future of storytelling, because actually nobody knows where it leads to. But I want to join me on a journey back in the past first to see where storytelling comes from. And then we go to the present, and I want to give you an overview where we are probably now in artistic and creative content for VR and AR. And then maybe we can get an idea where we might head to storytelling-wise. So if we see the beginning of mankind, I don't start a million years ago, but I start 30,000 years ago approximately, when Homo sapiens came on Earth. And why is that so important? Because it was obviously the first species which had a consciousness. And consciousness is the condition to start storytelling. So as soon as the human beings had a consciousness, they start asking questions like, where do we come from? Where do we go to? Is there a meaning of my life? Is there a higher power? Questions still unanswered until today, and that drives storytelling in our world still, and it will until the future. So storytelling is about learning lessons, about explain the unexplainable, and mankind put all these things together in huge, complex mythologies. And these mythologies are the sources of our stories. So every plot, basically every plot you ever hear, listen, see, watch, read, is actually already in these mythologies. So a few hundred or thousand years later, Aristotle came, and I make it very short, but this man is really important for us storytellers, because he defined a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is exactly what virtual reality or extended realities are struggling a bit, because it hasn't necessarily a middle, beginning, and an end. In these three words, the whole story structure is implemented. It's a perspective, it has a structure, it has a climax, suspense. Obviously, it's a time-based linear narrative, beginning, middle, and an end. We're getting along with this structure since the last thousands of years, and as said before, it will stay for the next thousands of years. I'm totally convinced about this. But about 30 years ago, something happened. A new medium came into our world, the internet. The World Wide Web empowered us to generate our own content, to be interactive, to create user-generated content, to get in touch with other creators, to discuss content, and to build nonlinear, sometimes pretty messy story structures. And with that, a new species evoked, the species of Homo ludens. That's my theory. But we are completely in a gamified world, and that is a good thing, because when storytelling is a lean-back, linear situation about learning lessons, a gamified world is about doing something, and we know from our brain scientists that we learn better if we do it on ourselves. So games need a nonlinear structure, they need interactive possibilities, and with the rise of the internet, gamification started. And it was now pretty much the beginning of what is now needed for virtual reality. What is new in virtual reality? Virtual reality since 2012, if we consider the third wave of the technological development, gives us, our generation, first time in the history of mankind, the possibility to literally step into the narrative. And that is pretty sensational. That means that we are part of that story world. That means that we are literally wrapped and embraced by a 360 sphere, and we can be part of it. The fourth wall between the narrative and the audience has fallen down. The fourth wall between the stage here and you in the audience has fallen down. And this has so much consequences for storytelling that we need to have a closer look at it. So now we are in the present. I want to give you a short overview. I was privileged to travel a bit throughout this year to festivals and events to watch creative and artistic content. And I can reassure you that there are hundreds and hundreds of beautiful experiences which are pushing the boundaries of the medium out there already. The pain for me is that I can't show you anything because it travels very badly because of huge installations or complex things. But if you have the chance to go to festivals, to film festivals, or to VR festivals, as for example, VR Days next week, go there and watch it. I can only recommend it. So the fall of the fourth wall means something. What exactly is that in practice for you? It means that you can sit literally beneath President Obama and watching him talking to you.
I remember when I first walked in and I looked around and I thought, it's actually not as big as I imagined it on television.
It really does feel like home to us. There are 2 floors upstairs above the state floors, and that's where our home is. That's where our children have grown up.
The White House is the people's house, and Michelle and I always joke, we're just renters here.
I shortened the trailer to have more space for it, but this 360 movie, 360 experience from world-leading studio Felix and Paul in Montreal just won an Emmy Award 5 weeks ago in Los Angeles. You can watch it for free on the Oculus platform. What means the fourth wall is down is that you literally can step into an animated feature. I can't show anything here because it's still work in progress, but the Penrose Studios are working on Arden Swag, and this is an animated 3D feature film where you literally can be inside the story. You can approach the characters. You can dive into the submarine. You can change perspectives. You can be as close as you can imagine to these figurines. And this is so moving, I can tell you, people are literally in tears when they put off the headset, me included. It's so beautiful, you can't imagine what this experience do to you. This is one of my most favorite, which really blows me away when I was at Tribeca Film Festival. It's a co-production between the National Film Board of Canada and the National Theatre of London. It's still as well a prototype, and I'll show you a shortened trailer first and then explain a bit what it is.
I lived in this house until I was 18, and my mom continued living here until last year, when she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
So, in its simplest form, Draw Me Close is a memoir about Jordan Tannehill's relationship with his mother in the wake of learning about her terminal diagnosis of cancer. In some ways, it's deceptively simple, and in some ways, it's extraordinarily different. So it's really hard to explain this, but when the actor steps up to you and the character reaches out, and then you feel a human hand touching you on your shoulder, and it walks you over to the bed and tucks you in like you're a 5-year-old, it blends reality and virtual in a way that I've never experienced before.
And then at some point I put my wine down and I began to draw with you. We drew our hearts out together.
So what's happening to you is that you get an HMD on your hat, and then you see a blank white canvas, and a black pen started to draw the environment in front of you. And you see growing a house, a garden, a fence, a tree, a door, a doorknob, and a voice asks you suddenly, it's a strange feeling, isn't it, to get back to the place where you grew up? And you immediately understand that you're a kid now, that this is the place where you've grown up as a kid. And then the voice asks you, what are you waiting for? Just go in. And I reached out to an animated doorknob in that aesthetic, and it was real. And can you imagine what that means if the virtual and the physical world merges in your head? I could open a real door and went into another room, which was painted as well, or drawn as well in that aesthetic as a kid's room with a bed and toys and a window. And suddenly a voice asked me, "Where have you been all the afternoon? You're late. Please open the window." And this is an actress in a motion capture suit rendered into the experience in real time. You've seen her here. And she's actually talking to you and acting with you. This is an incredible, intense, immersive experience. It's a one-to-one theater play. It's still in progress. I think the last stop was at the Venice Festival, and it's supposed to need another year to be finalized. This is something, if you can watch it, please do it. This, again, is another sensorial installation. You might have seen the poster already. It's from Alejandro González Iñárritu. He's an Oscar-winning director from Hollywood. And together with Noni de la Peña and other teams, he developed for the Prada Foundation an installation. It's a mixed reality installation through 3 halls, and it brings you from the physical world to the virtual world back into the physical world. That means that you're standing bare feet in a sand, in a pool of sand, mocking the desert of the Mexican-North American border, and you're observing or joining a team of completely exhausted refugees trying to approach the borderline. This is a very, very intense and emotional experience as well, playing around with Unreal Engine, with volumetric capture, with all what you can get right now in state-of-the-art technology. This is another experience. Malika Say was the assistant of Mariana Abramovic, and she did, together with the help of NVIDIA, HP, and Wolf, an installation called Tree. Tree works with scent as well. So you get on a headset, you get on a vibrating vest, and you're literally a seed in the soil of the rainforest and smell the scent of the rainforest. And you make your way through the soil until the light, and you grow to a beautiful giant tree. You are literally that tree. Your arms become branches where parrots sit down. And it's a wonderful experience which has a strong ecological message about the destruction of the rainforest. And this one, I show you first the trailer.
With nothing on my tongue but
So you might have recognized the song. It's from Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah. But the sensational experience here is that you have not only fantastic binaural sound, if you have the right headphones for it, but also you have a volumetric captured picture with the light field technology. This is made with the Lightro camera system, and you're standing in a movie and you can walk around in that movie, meaning that you can approach the singer, you can walk around a bit in the church, not too much yet, but the beginning is really promising, and I'm so much looking forward to light field technology and volumetric capture being the next step in 360 movies. Sound is not only important in virtual reality or in extended realities, it will be or will have a key position because it brings you, with the exclusion of the reality and your hearing, it brings you into the other world, into the virtual world. This one is not so new for now. What you see is an animated piece which actually reacts in real time to sound. That means this animation is auto-responsive to sound. It was made by Marc Chavez from Singapore University and showcased at Ars Electronica last year. And I met him and thought, oh my God, what does that make to virtual reality storytelling? Can you imagine with auto-responsive sound, visuals reacting to noises or even to dialogues? And a few months later, I experienced this one. It is within a huge company in the States, you might know them, and they created an evolutionary story. So it's a multiplayer interactive piece. You play it with 2 wife players, and you step into this experience. So you start as an amoeba, as you have seen it, and then you get a whale and become a dinosaur, and you end up as an artificial intelligence. The sensational thing about this is not only that you can interact with your partner in the wife and so therefore create your own experience here. The sensational thing is that they modulate your voice, meaning in the beginning I had a giggling instead of a laughter, and it took me a while until I realized that's me, and I could communicate with my partner in that experience. This is another groundbreaking step to future storytelling. Future storytelling needs future tools. I make it a bit shorter now. It's Dear Angelica was made as one of the first experiences in VR for VR with the Oculus Medium and Quill in this case. And the tools create their own aesthetics as well. So Oculus created Oculus and Quill, Medium and Quill, and we've heard about Dashboard yesterday. Tiltbrush was the next from Google. Tiltbrush has its own program for artists in residence. Here's a beautiful piece from Sutu. And NMVR is the latest tool to create short movies in VR for VR. And it can look like this, for example. Called Escape. It's from Niglad, and it's finalized a few weeks ago. So the future of storytelling is, in my opinion, if you have a look on all these experiences, is to encourage and empower the user to be active, to interact, and to be creative. As soon as we have a headset on our head, we want to be empowered to use all our senses, to use our brain, to use our soul, and to use our body. So what we need to do if we create stories or content for virtual worlds, we need to consider not only the old storytelling, that won't work any longer. We need to consider all the possibilities we have in a spatial environment. It is the paradigm shift from time-based, linear, non-interactive storytelling to spatial, non-linear, story world building. And it is the shift from an active, controlling narrator and a receiving audience to an active creator, to an interactive, creative user. So my guess is that we create with this new technology a new evolution of mankind, a new subspecies after the Homo ludens. We create something like a Homo creativitus, or as the book says, a Homo deus. People want to be creative, they want to interact, they want to change something, they want to do something in their experiences. So it's your choice now to empower them with superpowers in virtual reality. It's not about manipulation and controlling, it's quite the opposite. Thank you very much.